Good morning. My name is Chris Greenwood, and I'm the founder of 400kfirst.com. And 400kfirst.com, basically, we look at the cornerstone and bedrock biology. We're looking at this LGBT transgender issue, and I'm trying to give some really hard science on what's going on. And what you need to know with 400K is that 386,000 kids are born every single day. That's 386,000 today, tomorrow, yesterday. In the course of a week, it's 2.7 million. In the course of a month, it's 10 million. In the course of a year, it's just under 140 million. These kids are all born heterosexual. They're not born gay. They're not born transgender. They're born heterosexual. That's the way life is. We can look at things and about ourselves biologically. We can look at our veins and so forth. We have arteries in our body, and the arteries carry our blood to our feet, to our hands, to our brain. And when they're done getting to that organ, it returns through our veins. And the reason it's blue is because it doesn't have any oxygen. It's a pretty neat thing about the design of us. You know, when you get a scratch on your arm or something like that, it takes about 3, 4, 5 days to heal, and then it heals. So that's part of nature, the design. And when you dream, your brain disconnects from your body, so you don't act out your dreams. Again, the design of the human body is pretty sophisticated. They've done a pretty good job. So when we know that 386,000 kids are born every single day, it's a pretty solid biological wall that this affirms we are born heterosexual. No matter what anyone tells you, that's what we're born, okay? I'll just leave it there. And the reason I'm coming to you now is I started this website back in July of 2021. It's been about 8 months. And I predicted at that time, when I started this, there were only about 2 or 3 states that had actually passed pro-parent, pro-straight heterosexual laws to keep transgenders out of the sports. Last year we had, I think, 110 bills. This year we have 168. This is only March. And in the last 30 days, we have had 8 to 10 states pass legislation to ban transgender from sports. We've got Alabama, we've got Arizona, we've got Kentucky, we've got Florida, we've got South Dakota. We'll stick with one of the major ones is Florida right now. And Florida went to a very small population of students aged basically kindergarten to 3rd grade. And that's the ages 5 to 8, 9 years old. I'm telling you that's called latency age psychology. I have a master's in higher education. I used to work as a college counselor. Prior to that, I was working on a licensed clinical social work graduate degree. I worked inpatient psychology, not only with adolescents, but also with this latency age group. Prior to that, I used to work with at-risk youth, juvenile delinquency, and so forth. So I've got some familiarity with psychology and so forth. And what I can tell you is what Governor DeSantis did, it's not just very clever. It's just that, early child psychologists realized that, during these stages of when they're 5 to 9 years old, in addition to forming language and morals, which they're learning from their parents and maybe churches, we're working on memory and reasoning. This is when the child builds their own knowledge based on their experiences. Child begins to learn things on their own without the influence of adults or older children. Children begin to solve problems on their own. They begin to work things out in their brain on their own. And this is this formative education. So what Governor DeSantis has said is that from the K through 3rd grade, which is again 5 to about 9 years old, that he's protecting parents. This is a parent's law that if any teacher, staff, nurse, administrator, mental health counselor begins to influence or coerce a student to consider transitioning to a gender other than their own, that parent needs to be notified. And rightfully so. We're dealing with a really sensitive age group here. All of us know this. It's a gut issue here. You don't even need to ask yourself. This is about protecting that age group. So what you really need to think about is what I learned when I worked in that population, maybe more so now, but it's a very small population of people, of kids that we see affected. They typically come from foster homes or from being in some other youth homes where there's been some abuse, where those people around them had alcohol, criminal, or other things. And we would see some acute things like that, but we don't see that normally in public schools. So when Governor DeSantis sets the parameters on that, when the LGBT says that they want to cross that line, they want to cry that it's anti-gender and that we're not caring about people, it's the opposite. This is predatory behavior. This needs to be called what it is. It's sex trafficking, and it's predatory. It's people that want to go into the public schools and traffic the minds of these young kids to consider another gender. Those of you that are listening to me, we're involved in their hearts and minds. We want to save and protect those kids. They're in education. We want to raise up children, both men and women, to be leaders. We don't want anything outside of the academics being taught. And that's why we have Governor Abbott last month. Basically, they passed a law on transgender. They're going to begin to allow doctors to be sued if they participate in any surgeries with any genitalia or things like that. Now, their attorney general's come down and stopped it. But what you need to understand is we've had Alabama, we've got Florida, we've got Kentucky, we've got Arizona, we've got Texas, we've got New Hampshire. Just yesterday, South Dakota came out. South Dakota actually 2 weeks ago came out with a ban banning transgender sports in all primary, secondary schools. And yesterday they came out with a ban for critical race theory, CRT. And what you understand, there's a dualism here. You know, this thing we call the culture war, it's all about maturity and accountability is really what it's about. And as we look it up on the CRT scale, as Governor Noem is trying to prohibit this on college campus, she's saying we're not only going to address this at the age spectrum at primary, K through 5, it's going to secondary, for middle school, high school, and to college and university. Because most of you know that adolescence doesn't really end at 18. It goes on at 24, 28, possibly even 32. She's saying that on our college and campuses in South Dakota, we're getting out of CRT. So I'm going to kind of begin to summarize all this, is that when I started this last summer, there were very few people doing this. You know, I give credit to Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh, if none of you know, he basically appeared on Dr. Phil last month and took on 2 transgender guys and did an excellent job of disputing with them. We've got Matt Vespa. Matt Vespa is writing weekly on this. Dr. Michael Brown out of North Carolina. These guys are vanguards, and they're doing a lot of good work. And I don't want people to feel that there's not something we could do, because you all know when it comes to that sensitive age group, that K to 3, and frankly, we all know we want to take that up to middle school and protect more. It's not just the right thing to do. We've got laws on the books, and if people are going to cross the line on there, we're going to prosecute them. We're done. So, in summary, what we got going on here is we had about 110 bills in 2021. We have 168 bills right now. And again, we've just had 10 states take action. You can see it and download it on my site. I predict that a year from now it's going to be 20, and by the fall of 2024, over half the U.S. states will be on the side of this. This is basically a train wreck of liberal and moderate liberal people that are what we would call groomers, that will, because of their friends and relationships, they will continue to groom people to be gay, gender. And right now, I'm not going to be so concerned with that, but we're talking about protecting these primary kids school age. And what we're looking at, and we're seeing, it's just a train wreck. Right now, we're, from now until the elections in 2024, I just look at this as being a really, really bad train. And the LGBT is going to be in arms. They're just going to be assailing what we're doing. In fact, you need to know, semantically, as they break down language, anti-gendering, you guys need to toss it. It's pro-parent. This is pro-student. This is pro-heterosexual. We want to raise healthy, straight heterosexual kids, men and women, to be leaders. If you see anti-gender, or you see this just toss it. It's nonsense. When Governor DeSantis yesterday, with the Leah Thomas thing with the swimmer, he called it as it is. You basically have a guy who can't compete in male sports going over, fraudulently claiming that he's a woman, and then beating these women in NCAA sports. And NCAA sports isn't easy about it. I'm not going to get caught up in this, but we all know what it is. So 2 things from this. Number 1 is, I've documented, and you can download it on my website here, and you can look at these 10 bills that have gone through. For the last 40, 50 years since I've been around seeing, and I'm firmly heterosexual, is it uncomfortable when gay people kind of come in? And yeah, it is. I mean, we're continually moving and accommodating them, and they continue to encroach. So you shouldn't feel afraid to print out something like this, take it into a gay neighborhood, into a gay workplace, your own work, or a restaurant. Just put it down, show them the facts. You need to know that state legislators are working on behalf of parents, and you also can participate with this. I mean, this is one of the things. You can print this out and do it. I'm going to update this every single week. And the last thing you need to know, and Matt Walsh gets credit, do not trade your vote for their reality. Do not trade your vote for their reality. So I'm just going to leave you. We've got a really firm biological wall. We've got kids being born every single day. We owe our leadership and our stewardship to them. They need to know when they're born that we have some structure in our schools that's going to ensure that they progress and they graduate as mature adults. And I think you're with me on this. I hope you believe in what we're doing. 400K, we're going to be there. And we'll get this. Our hearts, we want their hearts and their minds, not just their minds. So God bless you. You guys have a great day.